Beyond the headlines. This is World Insight.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. As this year's World Artificial Intelligence Conference 2026 wrapped up, China's vision for developing AI has become remarkably clear. Yet one fundamental question stands out. What does people-centered AI truly mean? That is a question for everyone in the world. I post this one also to leading policymakers, scientists, and global leaders there at the conference, including UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. He did say global AI governance remains in its infancy, urging nations to build bridges in shaping AI, not barriers. He also welcomed China's initiatives to help the developing world harness AI responsibly as these technologies determine our shared future. Take a listen of my exclusive interview with the Secretary-General of the United Nations. Mr. Secretary-General, what a pleasure to see you in Shanghai.
It's an enormous pleasure to be back.
Many see artificial intelligence extremely crucial, but what do you think is the role of the UN in AI governance, and what are the priorities?
Well, our main concern is to have a universal platform where everybody can be involved in the governance of AI. AI cannot be a club of a group of rich countries or a group of very powerful companies. AI is linked to the life of all of us. And so the UN has decided, and China has been very supportive of that initiative, first of all, to create an independent scientific panel on AI that will be reporting in total independence, 40 people from north and south, half women, half men, scientists, and they will be reporting regularly and telling us what is happening with AI, what is the reality with AI. And at the same time, we just finished in Geneva a dialogue with all countries, all governments are represented, but also scientists, companies, civil society, in order to have a serious discussion about the governance of AI, trying to find areas of possible consensus, trying to find areas where we agree on some guardrails that need to be respected. And by the way, this is very much in line with what President Xi Jinping did when he proposed the Global AI Governance Initiative.
Right.
And very much in line, the meeting we had in Geneva with the meeting we are going to have in Shanghai, exactly on the governance of AI, and hoping to create a group of countries that will play an important role in making sure that AI is for everybody and not for a few privileged ones.
What exactly are these, some of the priorities as you see it?
For me, the most important priority now is to invest in capacity building in developing countries. Because let's be honest, overwhelming majority of the investment that is made today in AI is in the developed countries and China. Every other has practically no investment. And many have no talented people trained, have no infrastructure, have no adequate regulations. And so we need to mobilize the whole of the international community to support developing countries, to build the capacity to be able to take profit of the enormous potential that AI has. And in health, in education, in agriculture, in all aspects that are crucial for development, AI can really allow us to make enormous progress.
China has been supporting and offering the open source LLMs. In other words, people can obtain them and use them at a lower cost, and it can be available to everybody. What do you make of this approach? Is this going to be the way out?
I've always been a supporter of open source. I think it's very important that what is discovered is put at the disposal of the international community as a whole in order to make sure that all can benefit. And China has been very successful with its open source different algorithms and instruments because they are now used by all countries in the world. And even if we consider the other relevant partner in the development of AI, which is the United States. Even in the United States, Chinese open source instruments are now used widely by American companies. That shows how important it is to nurture this perspective of AI at the service of everybody.
To be inclusive.
To be inclusive.
Yes. You mentioned about China's global AI governance initiative proposed a few years earlier. China also put out the global AI governance action plan. Of course, these documents are extremely important. How much do you think the discussion is going on?
Let's be honest, we are still in the beginning of a serious capacity of discussing global governance of AI because of the geopolitical divides. And I think the importance of initiatives is exactly to establish bridges, is to bring countries together, because this cannot be done by country. This needs to be done globally. And AI has an enormous potential, but has enormous risks. And it's very important that governments, especially those governments that have a larger capacity, or where are the companies that have a larger capacity, even if sometimes they diverge in many aspects, I think there is a common interest of humankind that there is a serious dialogue to make sure that AI doesn't become an existential risk for our societies.
You and Chinese President Xi Jinping have been talking to each other, meeting one another over the years. What are likely to be the discussions between the two of you and the other leaders?
Well, I'm not going to describe here any discussion, but there is one thing that I am concluding my mandate in the end of the year. I might
Thank you for your service, sir.
Have other opportunities still to see President Xi Jinping, but it might be the last. And I think it's important to express our enormous appreciation as President of China, the strong commitment to multilateralism and the strong commitment to support the UN. And in a world where so many attack multilateralism, in a world where so many violate international law, in a world where so many disregard the need for international cooperation, I think that this example is extremely important. And so I think it is my duty to express my deep appreciation for that.
Earlier, you once said in an interview that many of the initiatives that China brought out actually are quite in line with what the UN had been thinking over the years. Now, do you see those meeting in mind have been meeting in actions?
Well, as a matter of fact, in AI, it is clear. The first resolution on AI in the General Assembly of the United Nations was presented by China, promoted by China. China has strongly supported the initiatives that I mentioned that were approved in the Global Digital Compact, when we approved the Pact of the Future, and when we were able to gather all countries in the world to understand the need for AI governance. So there is indeed an identity of points of view about the need for AI to be something in which we all get together to guarantee that it is an opportunity for development, an opportunity for well-being, an opportunity for us all, and not a risk. Look, one of the things that worries me, look what it is, the possibility of weaponizing AI. Now imagine that we take human beings out of these and you put AI managing the nuclear arsenals. It would be an enormous danger. To keep human agency, to keep the primacy of human agency over artificial intelligence is absolutely essential.
One thing is being asked many times. At a time when technology is developing so fast, why AI governance is so much lagging behind?
It's because of geopolitical divides. It's unfortunately because we see many countries that do not believe in multilateralism, that think that each one can do it by itself, thinking that they might gain an advantage over the others. But AI is a dangerous thing. And so whatever the divides that might exist among countries, The risks of AI are much more important, and so countries need to come together for an effective global governance of AI.
Many are also asking, especially within the community of artificial intelligence, it is not about what AI is, it's about what human being is. What do you think is the meaning of human being at this time, the age of AI?
Well, I think that artificial intelligence was created by human beings.
Yes.
It is our creation. It is a demonstration of the enormous capacity and the enormous potential of humanity. And so one reason more to put AI at the service of those that have created it. AI didn't invent itself. AI was invented by human beings, and human beings must remain in command of the developments of AI.
Now we see tremendous resources being put into data center, for example. We also see in certain economies energy being consumed in such a huge volume in order to get those data centers work. And yet there might be lack of electricity for its public. Now, this is only one of those many examples that reflect the divide that we're seeing in our society, the gap in our society, sir. So when you look at these phenomena as the Secretary-General, what comes to your mind? What can be in that action plan now?
Well, what I did a few weeks ago in the London Climate Initiative was to make a proposal of a transparency initiative in AI. I think it's the obligation of those that create a data center to inform the public, to inform the communities where those data centers are created, what will be the consumption of water, what will be the consumption of electricity, what will be the land occupation. And at the same time, I asked for, until 2030, the energy used for those data centers to be renewable. And I have to say that China has been investing massively in renewable energy in general, but in particular, exactly to take into account the massive needs of data centers.
Meanwhile, you see trillion-dollar IPOs of some technology and AI-related companies, IPOs. However, you also see many economies are still suffering from lack of very basic infrastructure, of electricity, of internet. Once again, this huge divide, sir. You have a huge goal, 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. So when you see those two extremes, what comes to your mind once again?
It comes to my mind the need to reform our international economic and financial architecture. Our international economic and financial architecture, the Bretton Woods system, and all the other aspects that create this ecosystem of economy and finance were created essentially by rich countries and take into account the needs and the problems of rich economies. And so, unfortunately, the most dramatic problem that the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals face is the lack of resources available for developing countries. The cost of capital in developing countries, even some that are very well managed, is normally 2 to 3 times higher than the cost of capital in the developed world. And of course, that obviously many investors, as they see the cost of capital in developing countries, they prefer to go to develop, and the inequalities grow. We need a serious reform of the international financial architecture. We need to look seriously into the debt problems of so many countries that are completely strangled. We need to make sure that multilateral development banks, the World Bank, the IMF, are reformed to represent today's economy and not the economy of 1945, and to make sure that there is an effective opportunity for developing countries to have access at reasonable costs to the funds they need in order to overcome the obstacles that until now did not allow the Sustainable Development Goals to move as fast as they should be moving.
There is going to be a global AI governance body to be established soon. What do you think should be its mandate? What do you think it can play its role for future AI governance?
Now, I would like to see, involving everybody in the world, a permanent body able to at least establish a number of guardrails, of red lines, in order to guarantee that AI remains a force for good.
Sir, my last question for you. You have been serving as the Secretary-General of the United Nations at the most critical time, one could argue. And also, you are witnessing a tremendous transformation of the world. We do not know which direction is it heading for, though, at this moment. So how would you reflect upon the years of you in service in the UN, and what do you think should be the most important qualities of the future UNSGs?
The most important is the independence, and at the same time to be always faithful to the UN Charter, to be always faithful to international law, to be always on the side of those that are suffering because of inequalities and injustices in our system. This is what I believe is needed. The Secretary-General of the United Nations has not much power, not even much money, as it is known. But there is one thing a Secretary-General has, as a voice, and that voice must be a moral reference and must be the expression of the Charter, of its values, and of its principles.
Mr. SG, thank you so much, as always, and thank you for talking to me over the years when you are serving as the Secretary-General of the United Nations. I learned a lot, sir.
It is a pleasure, and it has always been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Xie xie.
Welcome back. This is World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Now, my exclusive conversation with Professor Andrew Chi Yao, the only Turing Award winner with Chinese origin so far. He has been working in Tsinghua University over the past decades. Besides his own academic achievements, Professor Yao is widely respected for his work in nurturing talents of AI who are increasingly instrumental all over the world. I know you have been researching about physics, then switched to computer science, and later you also work in the mathematics department of renowned universities. How did you manage to get the real essence of these very different fields? What are the commonalities of these basic sciences?
Actually, it's not too difficult.
Really?
To jump around these basic sciences, mainly because these three sciences, physics, mathematics, and computer science, they share the same common scientific language, namely that we can really communicate with each other perfectly with the standard mathematical jargons. And however, there are, of course, differences between the styles on how research is conducted. For example, in physics, the perfect rigor of the mathematics involved is not that important, as long as you can find the truth. You can assert how the reality actually turns out to be. Even if you just find it for the wrong reason, that'd be okay. And computer science is sort of between these two subjects. So on the one hand, you would like what you find to be mathematical rigorous, but on the other hand, you have to sometimes do research like a physicist, namely that you should be willing to go outside the standard boundary. If you see a new phenomena, you should be brave enough in order to embrace it.
You are not only a renowned scientist yourself, but also a well-known educator. So when you were teaching the freshmen, that's, you say, always it should be the emphasis of your work. What kind of logic, philosophical approaches, or ways of thinking would you like to nurture among these young talents?
I think that, of course, when you teach freshmen, you have to adjust your style to different type of students. In Tsinghua, we usually have really bright students in our class. Therefore, our job is not really to help them go through the detailed calculations or the standard proofs, but to try to instill in them the spirit of adventure. And typically, what I would like to do is to show them some really beautiful results, which sometimes will need very difficult arguments. But the challenge is to find a way that you can explain it to them in a more elementary way, so that they would, on the one hand, they will be able to grasp the techniques, but on the other hand, they really can see the beauty in all these ideas.
Some suggested that no matter which subjects or area that you are researching on or concentrating on, at the end of the day, the beauty and the logic and the journey could all be very similar to one another. I know it's very hard to generalize because nobody can be expert in every field. And yet, I don't know from your perspective where you are. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think there's a certain universality about it that no matter what kind of problem you're working on and in what field, personally, that the psychological feeling, they tend to be the same. You encounter a problem, you are baffled, and you try to fool around, and you agonizing, and at some point, you suddenly see the light. And so that very moment is what scientists are looking for. I never ask other people, but I feel that I think all the scientists are addicted to seeking that feeling. I think that perhaps some nerve cell in the brain emits some chemicals and get you addicted, and you just try to replicate it. And I think that moment is the beautiful moment because at that moment, you know that in the whole world, you are the only one who knows this little secret.
You are the lucky one.
Yeah, even if it's not a huge achievement, but you are the one who have found, and that's what we all look for.
Yeah. What can you do when you didn't manage to achieve what you assumed that you might?
I think with experience that I think that it's just like in playing sports, and if you're on a basketball team, you of course you wouldn't win all the time, but I think you learn how to handle failure, and most of all, in playing games, you learn to appreciate the merits, and you get to admire other people. It's the same thing with the problem. I think that if you attack a problem for a long time, you finally give up. You should just be very grateful and you appreciate the problem even more. And when someone else solves the problem, and then the first thing that comes to your mind is not that, oh, I should have proceeded and do it, but the first thought that would come to my mind is that I really want to see the proof.
Yeah.
I want to see how this wonderful person is able to overcome all the obstacles that I have encountered.
Computer science, which is a subject you have been devoting decades on and certainly greatly achieved. What do you think are some of the biggest questions that you are still thinking today, and why do they matter?
Just to understand the nature of intelligence and the wonderful ChatGPT and the big language models, and they have it's just unexpectedly, they have opened up a window to us, namely that actually it is a real life model that you can experiment and observe. So that's a wonderful thing, and I think that it gives us an opportunity to push forward so that we'll be able to figure out exactly with computers what kind of intelligence can we achieve. It's a very exciting thought, but it also really tells us that we have to really take AI safety as a serious subject.
I heard you, Professor Yao, making this point at various international occasions, whether it's closed-door discussion with your counterparts or open-door dialogues and forums. Have you seen from when you become vocal about this until now, any real progress being made about setting the boundaries or better understanding of the nature of intelligence?
Yes, I think that actually what has surprised me is that the speed with which the world has accepted this safety issue as a very important and serious issue by nearly all the communities, from the government, from the industries, and from the academics, even the common people. So I think that people are ready to try to reach some consensus on exactly what needs to be done. And actually, we do have some time because the intelligence that has been achieved so far has not reached to a alarming level. And so right now, what we need to do is to figure out how to put the red lines on some of the very largest model, and also we can figure out how to deal with some of the standard issues.
And that is all the time we have for today. In my exclusive interview with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and Professor Andrew Chi-Chi Yao, the only Turing Award winner with Chinese origin, both of them agree it is ultimately important that we understand the goal of developing AI technologies. That is, to serve the people. And that is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight or check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on X and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. Thanks for being with me. Bye for now.